Hello, and welcome to Real Actors, Real Answers, the podcast where you are the star. Today, I would like to interview Chase Dudley of, give me a moment here, from Cut to the Chase Entertainment. He is a director, and I'm very excited. He has so much to his credit, and he is a go-getter. I can see that right now. I do my homework, as you know. Chase, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Cool. Yeah, I've been following you, trying to get track you down, so to speak. You know, like we got to set up a time so we can interview you and just go deep on everything that is your passion. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm a big movie fan, as you can see. I always wanted to be an actor growing up because, naturally when you watch movies, acting is usually the first thing you see, and you don't realize all of the stuff that goes into filmmaking. And when I was younger, I was a lot more, I think, craved for attention. I always wanted to be in front of the screens and I always act out the Jurassic Park movies or all of the horror movies that really inspired me. And then, when you seen a camcorder, essentially, that was like almost essentially a UFO back in the day because you didn't see too many camcorders. So I used to eat being up on the camera all the time and just purposely try to weed into being on camera. And it was pretty obvious what I was doing. But then, as I could not find any casting calls or anything in 2005, 2006, essentially when MySpace started, I got my own camcorder, and then I just realized I started getting my friends in the movies, and I realized I was starting to plan all of the shots, and I was planning everything, and then I didn't realize that I was grooming myself to be a director, and I realized I feel like I'm much better at that than I am acting.
You were doing, and you'll understand when I say this. You were doing a Spielberg because he started the same way.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I didn't.
Rumor has it, okay, because so many stories go out there, because everybody wants attention. But when he was about 8 years old, him and his dad used to go in the back and lay down in the grass in the warmer months and look at the stars and study the stars. And that's actually where was a movie with the alien.
The Fableman. Oh, you talking about E.T.?
E.T. Duh. Okay, where E.T. came from. But when he had a Super 8 camera, and he was in his teens, 13, 14 or so, and he would film whatever he could film, get his friends together and things like that. It was a passion in its infancy, kind of like you. You said you didn't know you were grooming yourself to be a director. Right. Is that right? Yeah. Yep. And then, again, there's different stories, but he snuck on a set at the time. It's Sony. It used to be. He snuck on the set to watch how things were being done, and then an executive producer found him, and instead of kicking him off, he saw his passion, and so he invited him back to actually learn more.
Wow, that is an amazing wow.
That's you in essence.
I've never heard that story.
Yeah, that's you in essence. That's what it sounds like to me. Anyway, he was a man.
I appreciate that because
he is a man.
I appreciate that because he happens to be my favorite director.
Okay, yeah, exactly. And it sounds to me like you did the same thing. I'm all for school. I'm all for college. Okay, I went, but you can start anywhere in this business. And you don't know what's going to happen. That's the beautiful thing about it. When you run into the right people, or it takes tremendous learning curves, as you know.
Absolutely. I agree with that. There's no one-way ticket to get into this industry. I mean, people have all kinds of unique stories.
Yes, they do. And you can learn from them. You mentioned right out of the gate horror films. Is that your genre? Is that what you focus on mainly?
I get compared into that genre a lot. I love all genres of film. I have done a little bit of everything. I have done drama. I have done crime, drama and thrillers. But I think psychological thrillers is more in my alley because I love adding horror elements because horror films are one of my favorite genres of film. But I love the drama side of films too. And I think thrillers play a great balance between both of those and conveying a story. I like a little bit more of the grounded approach. A lot of my stories consist of a lot of human evil and a lot of human emotion elements that rise into it, like, you know, Gone Girl or Silence of the Lambs. Those stories are the ones that really intrigue me. Although I love, you know, ghost stories, or like, you know, like the Poltergeist we were talking about, and The Conjuring. I love those films, but that's not really my style that I like to direct. I like to focus on things that can really more or less happen.
I'm going to take a stab in the dark, and I'm going to say this. How about Hitchcock? You like Hitchcock? Alfred Hitchcock?
I love Hitchcock. I feel that's a director that a lot of people do not mention, and I felt that he paved the way in so many ways, and I felt that he should be equally credited just as much as someone like Wes Craven.
Wow, I agree.
Because I feel like he's the grandfather of horror.
Wow, if he was alive, he would probably, thank you, Chase.
Yes, I love the way he talks. Yeah, I love the way Hitchcock talks.
What do you think of his camera angles? You know, the different ways that he led you through the film.
I feel like Wes Craven was the last filmmaker that almost captivated what Hitchcock did, but there's only one Hitchcock, and I don't think I've ever seen another filmmaker influence his vision. In a sense, he was very unique, and that's why I think a lot of his films are still to this day, over 50, 60 years later, are still talked about. You know, Psycho. I mean, I love Bates Motel, but it did not capture what Hitchcock did with that film in such a unique way, and make black and white very intriguing.
I agree. Kodachrome. I love it. There's so much expression. I don't know why. Why do you think, and I know this is maybe like someone might disagree, which is fine, you know, but
right.
You have color and then you have black and white. What is the difference in the two besides obvious view?
I think a lot of younger people would say that it's obsolete now, but to me, I almost think black and white was more effective. And you know, Christopher Nolan did like a student film when he was breaking to the industry, and he did it very cheap, and it was so good. A lot of people didn't even know he did it. I don't know, but to me, the black and white really sets the mood. I love The Diary of Anne Frank, and the tone that movie had, and how it was shot in black and white. And I know that it did like another film that was set in color, but I just always felt that the black and white was more effective. I mean, look at Schindler's List. That's another black and white movie that still to this day is, I mean, it holds up so well. If it's shot right, I don't care what nobody says. It's timeless.
There is, and I know you're going to appreciate this, there is an art to light and shadow.
It truly is. One of my best gaffers is Charlie Brady. He's also my DP, and he does both, but he is so good at it. And you look at my earlier films, and then you look at like my more recent work, and it's like night and day with what lighting can really do with certain things. And I think that's what I miss about like the 30s through the 50s was the harsh lighting of crime thrillers that filmmakers did.
Noir, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm learning. Okay, you never stop learning. That's what life is all
absolutely about. So much information.
And have you ever heard of the name Josh Ausley? Ausley?
I have not.
He's a cinematographer, recent friend of mine. I'm going to interview him sometime next week, and he has done many commercials and Christian films and Avengers and Ant-Man and things like that, cinematographer. And he has on Tomorrow's Filmmakers, which is a course that I'm currently taking. What he does with light, I don't even know how to explain it, but I'm falling in love with how you artistically control light. It brings out the story. That's why silent movies are still popular today.
Yes. There's always going to be a market for that. But now that you mention the stuff that he's done, I think I've seen him on an episode of Indie Film Hustle just recently.
Okay.
Indie Film Hustle. Yeah. That is something, if you're a filmmaker, I really feel like you should really watch, because he really explains, I bought his book, and he explains the entrepreneurship of how to make your career into a business. because, as well as I do, this industry is more business than it is artistic. It's a brand.
And nowadays, as an acting coach, you have in the world nowadays, it's like high tech, low touch. Gauge it to where it's more high touch, low tech. I understand tech. Like, let's travel back a little bit. 1940s and 50s, like you said, okay? They didn't have Zoom. They didn't have, what they had was their body, their mind, their imagination, and their skill that they learned. Whether you were an actor, cinematographer, lighting technician, whatever it was, you came together and there was no caller ID. You didn't carry around one of these. It's like, what are you, an alien? So I like to go back and teach people those kind of lessons. I'm going to call it lessons.
I think it was a lot more, because I feel like it was more coherent for me. And I agree with you on going back to those days, because could you imagine with the limited technology and stuff like that, and they still actually managed to tell their story and their vision? And now I feel like we have all of this stuff, and it's kind of like the Joker said in The Dark Knight, I don't know what to do with it.
That's very good.
I
recently made a video lesson because I have a YouTube channel, and I said this. I said, you have to really balance your creativity with achievement, because this box, I'm privileged to talk to you and everything, but this box right here, it can make you a little lazy because you're sitting. Body was made for movement. The eyes were made to search and to seek and to be out there. What are you working on right now? Are you working on a current project right now?
I
know. I took a turn.
You got me captivated in what you're doing. I thought you were acting out of scene. Yes, I am working on a project, actually. I'm in a crowdfunding for my upcoming film, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. And I am really, really excited about this. This is by far, I think, my best script that I have in my possession. It was written by Charlie Brady. We do a lot of collaborating, and we are currently almost at 27,000, and we have 9 days left. And we have so much momentum and so much support going into this film. And it's really funny because last year I felt I had the worst luck getting a green light for this movie. I've had financing twice that fell through, and I was miserable because I was like, I really want to shoot this story. And a lot of people are like, hey, just move on to something else. And usually that's easy because I have so many scripts in my possession, but it was just something about this story that did not make me want to move on.
Explain that, please.
Well, because to me, this story, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, I feel like is a very important message. Definitely one of the more important messages that I want to tell. And I know a lot of women who have been sexually assaulted, and this story, instead of focusing on the aspect like, something like I Spit on Your Grave, where it was a hard 30 minutes to watch because you're seeing this girl being raped over and over again. And that's very hard to watch. But with this movie, although that's happening, you do not see the sexual assault. What you do see is the PTSD aspect of what happens to you after you've been violated and how that changes you as a person. And I feel like very little movies have really focused on that aspect. And I think hopefully after this, people can really start to, have a conversation about mental health, because I feel like mental health for the longest have been really ignored. And I'm hearing for the first time in my life at 40 years old, where I'm hearing more people talk about mental health, but it has always been a thing.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's more prevalent now?
Because I think with research and I think with technology and stuff like that, I think we're able to conduct tests and see how it's affected to people. And how, although I guess in a sense, I really don't know. But off the top of my head, I would imagine that has something to do with it. But I think back in the day, too, I think if you showed a sign of weakness or showed a sign of emotion or something like that, it was like, hey, growing up as a man, if you're emotional as a man, hey, man up, quit acting like a sissy, or you know what I mean? Like
Right.
this was word to compress your emotion, and you walk around emotionless because you're afraid if you share emotion.
What did you just say? You said the word compress. Think
Yes,
about what compression is. What is it? It's
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 suffocating.
pushing. Yeah, it's pushing together, and what should flow naturally is being compressed, and
Yep.
it has to implode somewhere. Like, for example, impressionable. I mean, you and I, we're impressionable, although we're
Mhm.
adults. But when it comes to like teenagers that are like new to the planet, they see nowadays, the perfect Facebook page, the perfect this, the perfect that. And then they have, what do they compare to? They
Yep.
compare, often, there's homeschooling. I get it, COVID, schmovid, all that stuff. But it has altered the way we perceive life as it should be,
The grass looks greener everywhere you see it, and it makes you more unhappy because you're like, why these people are getting this and getting that, and I'm stuck, and it almost becomes like competition in a sense, where you up one to make it seem like your life is so much better than what you're seeing. Yeah, we're in an interesting time in life, and I think it's kind of dangerous because I noticed that like so many more people are unhappy, and I'm seeing more depression, more almost at an all-time high, and it's really sad because although you see certain things on social media and you see great moments, that's not what not everything's what it seems to be.
No, it's not. And if I can jump off of what you said, in the summer, last summer, I love to ride my bicycle, so I went there, and it was like July or so. All the media, all the propaganda of everything else going on in life, and you see people, all this stuff. Okay, there was a Sunday around the 4th of July, and it was amazing to me. Everything that is said on social media and things is like, and I'm getting to something, is like, oh, that must be the truth because it's blaring at us every direction. I went there and I saw families gathering very closely together, laughing and doing and playing basketball, and on the list goes. And where's all the White House propaganda? I don't see all this unrest. I see people smiling, laughing. A little 8-year-old boy dragging a dead fish across the lawn, and their parents scolding him. It's hilarious. But the idea,
Perception
and
is everything, man.
yes, you read my mind. I want to see this. I'm coming back here. I want to see this movie that you have that's going to be produced. It sounds like you had kind of a struggle at first.
It did, but but then what got me out of that darkness that I was in
Yeah.
is I think the journey that the universe was putting me into was sometimes you have to do it yourself. I didn't realize that Spielberg had a very hard time getting Lincoln made, and looking at some of the movies, some of the best movies in the world had a very hard time getting made. I mean, look at Star Wars.
And I sent this to you. That's what I was doing earlier, and I found it. It's Spielberg, his picture, and one of his things. You're gonna love this. I found this. It says, this is his words: all good ideas start out as bad ideas. That's why it takes so long.
I
And I've
like
been,
that.
for about a week, I've been thinking about this and praying about it, and just thinking about that break, that beat here. All good ideas start out bad ideas, comma. That's why it takes so long. And it's something that is really, well, black and white. In fact, the it is in black and white, but it's true. You have an idea, but it needs to be cultivated. It needs to be nurtured and hugged and step back, taking a back seat to it, objectively speaking, and
I
seeing.
100% agree with that, and that's why I'm very grateful for my wife, because she grounds me. Me as a Sagittarius, I'm very big into astrology. Sagittarius, we tackle on a lot sometimes, and we don't step back to see the big picture. We dive in and head to the herd, but sometimes you need to step back and look at the bigger picture. But I'm
Yeah.
glad of the journey. And one thing I'm trying to do better as a filmmaker now is to learn to enjoy the process, even if it's a bump on the road. I think a lot of times people don't. Sorry, somebody's calling me. I had to reject the call. I think a lot of times filmmakers they want to fast forward into the moment where they become, you know, this big star, and ignore all of the small things to get you there. And it's the small things to get you there that you should really appreciate.
I agree. You just summed up my whole coaching career. It's true. An acting career. It's a step-by-step process.
It is.
And
it really is.
it's like you go along the beach and you make a footprint in the sand, okay? Why don't you stop, lift your foot and see what kind of footprint that is? I'm speaking allegorically, of course, but are you satisfied with that print? Are you satisfied? If not, it's okay to step back. What will people think? I don't know. You know, you step back. Should I do that scene over again? I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask my wife to help me to step back because I'm way too close. You know, with every question, there's an answer. With every problem, there's a solution. Otherwise, the problem would not exist. It can't exist without a solution.
Absolutely.
So,
I think we think very similarly on aspects of that. I'm always thinking of a solution. I don't like to drag on or complain or anything like that. I really try to remove a lot of stuff like that out of my life. Because, you know, I'm not going to sit there and say I never complain because that's human. But a lot of times when I catch myself doing it, I give myself a kick in the butt, you know?
Right. Me too. You know, you get frustrated and too close to something, and then you have to step back. And I refer back to cinematography. I refer back to, you know, you step back and you watch, as Michael Caine says, I watch the rushes, you know, and you step back and you watch what just happened. And with the director's help, because actors can't see themselves, that's why we need coaches and directors and people on the outside of us to show us more accurately what is needed. But there's no such thing as mistakes. I'm not trying to be Pollyanna. It's a learning curve. What did you learn from this? How should I approach this scene this time? Because the lighting, the daylight just went somewhere else. And what do I do now? You know, this is fascinating. I've got to say too, I've been following you, like I said, stalking you on Facebook, and you've met some pretty cool people.
Yes, I have. Childhood people that I admired growing up, and it's a lot of people that I never thought I would meet in a million years, and it's really cool.
Like there was one, I can't remember his name, but I'm going to do this and see if it rings a bell.
Oh, you're talking about Christopher. Can't think of his name at the top of my head. Yeah, Christopher Hart. He was so nice of a person, and he is. I mean, the funny thing is that his hand. He talks a lot with his hands.
I would imagine so.
And he was so proper, and it was just funny because he was just saying how weird it was for his experiences to be a hand. But you know, it like talking, you know, with him about his experience, and then talking to, you know, Tony Todd. I remember when I met Tony Todd, and he offered my kids candy, and they're like, "No, we watched a movie."
That's funny.
I think so far my favorite person I got to meet, and it's because it's my favorite horror film that really influenced a lot of me making movies. Brad Dourif, happy birthday to him, by the way. It's today's Brad Dourif's 72nd birthday, and I met him accidentally. I was at work and they wouldn't let me off, and I was delivering a pizza, and he was at the hotel. I guess he was checking out from the convention and going into his hotel room. And when I seen him, I dropped the pizza and it was in my hand, and I'm like, "Oh my God, it's effing Brad Dourif." And I think he thought that was pretty cool that I instantly knew who he was. And I was like, "Can I take a picture?" And he said, "Absolutely." Like, and he set up like Chucky. And
it's funny that you recognize. I'm sorry, you get me excited. It's funny that you knew him by face, not by the voice.
No, I knew exactly it was him when I saw him, like within like half a second, because I I was obsessed with him growing up. I mean, I watched Child's Play at the age of 5 for the first time, and I watched it every day.
Oh, really?
Yes, you can ask my brothers. They make, because like when I showed them pictures of people I met, they like, you used to fantasize about these people when you were younger, and they were like, I remember you used to watch Child's Play every day, and it was annoying because we all shared the same room. They used to get pissed off at me because I was watching Chucky. I would never go outside. I would just sit there and watch movies over and over again and study them.
2 things. Number one, for people that don't know, Christopher Hart was in the Addams Family series back in the 60s. Thing, correct? Saying that for the audience. How did he get the part? Did he divulge anything about how he got the part? Because that's very unusual.
You know, I asked that question, and he has so much wealth of information. I cannot really depict everything he said because it was just like a wow. Because I was trying not to be that. Pardon my French. I was trying not to be that asshole that is holding up the line, because there's a lot of people.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And I was trying to be respectful because I was like, I have another question, and I'm looking back and people are. You know, and I'm like,
but you know what?
I might not see him again. I got some questions.
Exactly. You seized the moment.
Yes.
And you taught other people patience and consideration, whether they accepted the lesson or not. That's how I think. Every moment in life is a one-time thing. You'll never get it again. Period. End of story. Beginning of new one. Is he still around?
Yeah.
I would love to talk to him. I'd love to interview him.
Like, I just met him this weekend, actually, or the last weekend.
Yeah.
And like I said, like you see his hand, you know it's him. It's like, it's a very distinctive hand.
May I shake your hand?
You know what I mean? Like, I see so many hands and shook so many hands, but his hand was the thing. Yeah. I mean, like, you just knew. It's still funny. Like pretty. It's like he could be like a hand model. He has a pretty hand, you know.
I'm sure he had offers after the series was up. You know.
Yeah.
Hey, you're that guy with the thing.
Yeah. He had the best hand job there ever was.
Yeah. Now I got to jump back to 5 years old. When you were 5 years old and you watched this, what was it? Child's Play.
Yep.
Kids are very impressionable. They get scared. Oh, but you. Why would you embrace such a movie at such a young age? Looking back,
we grew up watching horror movies, and you know, my mom was a single mom. You know, at the time, we all shared. You know, it was like all of us in one room, and we used to watch TV. And they watched, you know, a lot of horror films. I watched Jaws at a young age. That's actually what my mom said my first cuss word came from, was when the shark grabbed the boy. I apparently said OSHIT. Then, you know, we watched Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, A Nightmare on Elm Street was the movie that really traumatized me, because after that, it took 5 people to my mom used to have to call my uncles to give me a bath because I refused to sit in the tub, because the tub in that movie, it was like we had that old, like, because we used to live in old Louisville, and it was like a lot of the house was structured like in the 1700s, and the tub was very old, and I was convinced that Freddie was going to come and get me. So I used to hold on to the rails, and it took, like, I got everyone soaked because they had to like hold me down like I was getting baptized, because I was afraid that Freddie was going to come out and get that. And I think that just hooked me into movies. Although it used to scare me, I was hooked into them. I used to love watching those. You know, I mean, growing up in the 80s and the 90s to me was the best time, because, you know, you grew up watching Tales from the Crypt, you watched Poltergeist, you watched Freddy, you watched Jason, you watched Michael Myers and Chucky, and then so many great Pumpkinhead, Critters,
Critters,
Leprechaun, I mean, like, so many good movies. Yeah, Leprechaun. So many good movies back then that you just, I don't know. It turned me into the person I am now.
What do you think of Christopher Lee? Remember Christopher Lee?
Mm-hmm.
He was very scary. In fact, he would scare, and I've heard, like, on set when he played Dracula, you know, he got pegged for that, you know, locked in there, but he was fine with it. Very nice man on the outside. I've seen interviews. However, when he came out, and mind you, the women that he was with, on set, they knew, of course, it was Christopher. But in that moment when he came out, he was so focused, because the acting comes from the eyes, from here to the eyes and the rest of the face. They were scared. They were genuinely afraid, and their screams were quite real.
Yeah.
That attests a lot to their own acting ability. But at the same time, he was scary. The first time I saw him, it's like I asked my mother, "Who's that?" Christopher Lee. I don't want to see it. You watch it. I don't want to see it.
Yeah,
but
he was, really awesome. And and it's funny because when you meet a lot of these people, they all kind of share pretty much the same thing. They love it. I think horror audience is, in my opinion, the funnest audience to be a part of. It's like such the most loyal fan base. You scare them, so. You give them a good kill, they love you forever, no matter what you do.
Yeah, because they got catharsis. They scream or they jump, fight or flight. Would you say that movies are for people who want to experience something extraordinary? Because there's a lot of ordinary out there.
I think, honestly, the movies that you watch says more about you than it does about the actual film. And that's what I'm realizing more and more as I get older, is like, because watching a movie within 10 years from now, you feel different about it. Like I've had some movies where it never ages, like Pulp Fiction, or then there's some movies you watch and the test of time, like you laugh your butt off, and then you watch it 10 years, and you're like, I've outgrown that. And a testament to that, I think that's what Marvel is going through right now, and why a lot of people are kind of rejecting a lot of the new ideals of Marvel, with a lot of because their formula has been the same since Iron Man, right? But you notice a lot of people saying that their humor is over the top. It's not working anymore. It's not funny, because those people who started were young at that time, and now they have kids, and so much has changed.
Your BS changes, and that's what I teach. And it's not. I'm not trying to cuss. Belief system, it changes because you grow, and sometimes, like, I don't know, Never Ending Story. The first one was great, 1984. The second and third one, why did you do that?
I love the second one. I still remember to this day we cried on part 2 growing up, me and my brothers.
You what?
When I can't remember if it was the first or second one when the dog died.
Oh yeah, that was.
We heavy. All I remember it was me, my brothers, and my cousins, and we're all sitting there huddled up crying.
That's beautiful though.
That. It is.
Movies tend to, even bad ones, they tend to bring the inside out. They bring your honest opinions out, and your humanity, and your, like you said earlier in this interview, where people not as receptive, like man up, you said, why? That's because the persona out there, especially for men, is like, you got to be tough. Maybe. How do you become a great actor, a great movie maker, a great writer? You have to access what's inside of you. You can't suffocate it.
Yeah, you can't suppress emotions, because it's going to come out. And a lot of times, some of the worst emotions come out because people are so used to not being able to express themselves. And we creatures of expression. You're going to express it whether you want to or not. Eventually.
How did you come up with the company name?
A cut to the chase, because I've heard that term people use, and my name just happens to be Chase, and I'm like, that would be awesome.
I like it.
Thank you.
It's very catchy. It caught my eye. It's like, what does that mean? I know what it means, but what does it mean in cinematography? What does it mean in writing? You do your own.
In filmmaking, there's a lot of talk. I just like to cut to the chase and get to movie making. And
okay, I like it. Simplicity is an art in itself.
Yes.
Do you write your own material?
I come up with the story of all of my work. I pitch the story to a screenwriter, and I love to be heavily involved. As far as coming up with the dialogue and all of that stuff, I wish I was Tarantino and can do that. Tarantino is amazing at coming up with a lot of his films are very meta, and I love how his films are always tying into things that are going on, and he can make a conversation so natural. But yeah, I love to come up with the synopsis and everything. But I've worked with several screenwriters to come up with something unique.
How long have you been doing this?
I have been doing this since 2000, like since I was in school, like 2001, 2002. But those are like, I was doing it for fun then. It's around 2011 when I really was like, man, I don't know, a 9 to 5 job don't work for me. So I've been really making movies, getting to the point me and my wife and I are at. But I would say 2015 is when it really escalated then, because my wife was like, you need to get an LLC and you need to make this a business. And she was like, you need to start getting contracts and protect yourself. You need to, so we've been building from then. It's been a really hard process because it's a lot of, as much as I love the industry, you still got to watch out because there's a lot of people with not the best motivations.
There's not, and you don't know that initially. I mean, of course, you can refer back to what happened before, but it's never going to be the same person. So you have to make allowances for that. But I get that. There's people that you just adore and you want to work with again. And then there's people that you're glad you didn't work with. And then, oh, it's you. Or, oh, it's you. Hi.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I mean, I have met people like where it was nothing necessarily wrong other than we just didn't mesh well. Because I get referred to as a big kid a lot because I'm still overly enthusiastic with things that inspire me. I'm very emotional. You definitely, if I'm excited, you're gonna know it. My wife can be very excited about something and be completely calm. I don't know how she does it. I told her she should be a poker player because I can't do it.
That's fascinating.
If I'm excited about something,
yeah, I'm the same way. But I love that. I love that. I'm not going to say butting heads, but I'm saying that the vast difference between her and you, but somehow it goes together.
Yeah. I think if you have two people who are very similar in nature like that, and especially in a romantic relationship, I think I've seen couples where they're talking over each other at the same time, and I'm like, who am I listening to at this point? Because they both are wanting to talk and express themselves, and I'm like, wow, they're competing with each other. And then I think if there's two people in a relationship are very quiet, who's going to start the conversation? Who's going to take initiative?
It's fascinating.
No, would you go out with me? Check yes, check no.
We live, I've thought about this, and recently I've come up with this. Yes, it's an art form. Absolutely. Performing arts. However, you know what it really is? It's about communication.
It is.
That's what it is. With your body, your emotions, your words, your thoughts.
90% of what's coming out of everybody's, 90% of what people are saying is not coming from your mouth. Body language makes up about a good 70% of everything. I mean, I can tell a lot of things what people are thinking or saying or feeling just by how they react, how, I guess, uptight their emotions are, or how fluid somebody handles. Like if you're talking to somebody and they're trying to get out of the conversation and leaning that 40-degree angle, like letting you know, look, I gotta go.
That's what you just said. That's what makes a great film director, because you can see what's going on more than the average person.
Yeah, I can tell a lot about that, and my wife's like, how do you read stuff like that? Because a lot of times I can tell her what's going to happen before it happens, and and she doesn't really read people very well, because my wife's more introverted. She'll talk if she knows you, but if you're out in public, she's not going to like be the first person that starts a conversation. She's warming up a lot to that, but I told her, be you. There's only going to be one you in the world. Never apologize for being you. But I've always been like if I don't know you, I'm going to know you, because I'm like, who are you? I like to get a conversation going. I like talking to people and learning about them, what makes them tick, what is their passion, what makes them feel alive. because we're on this planet a very limited time, and I like to have those moments.
Yeah, I agree. Everything is a snapshot or a scene. That's what it is.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how it is in my mind.
Yeah.
It
See,
seems like you really understand me as a person.
I do, because we're parallel. Parallel is not exactly right, because if you go like this, you have two opposing thumbs.
Yeah.
You got two hands that are similar, but they're never exactly alike. This is the
I
reason
never
why I
heard that
do.
analogy.
This is the reason. Thank you. This is the reason why I do Real Actors, Real Answers. Now, I have a question for you that everybody I know will. I know a lot of my students will have questions about this. When you are ready to audition people, how do you make that known?
I am like Tarantino when it comes to that approach. When I usually audition people, I more hit up somebody privately, and I already have somebody in mind as I'm talking to them, because I already pretty much have a good idea of who I want to play in the film before doing a blind audition. I generally would be like writing a script, and I'll be like, ooh, Amber Dawn Fox will be great at this, or hey, Sherry Davis will be amazing at this. Oh man, and then I'll let them know, hey, I have a part I think you'll be great for, and I always see their response to it. And if they're excited as much as I am, then it means a lot to me. But if they don't like, they're just like, oh, cool, and I'm like, oh,
So there's new people that you're willing to give a go, and there's people that you have worked with before, sort of like
I make a fine
Adam
balance
Sandler does that.
Yeah, I make a fine balance to that, because there's a lot of people. I like to make new experiences with people and stuff like that. But there's some people I feel that I work with that I can see them doing so many different things that I can see. But some people I worked with, I'm like, maybe. But it just depends. It's like I gotta have a vibe with you on set, and I think one of the best vibes that I've had with a talent so far. I work really, really well with Amber Dawn Fox. She was in 2 of my films. And I really like the collaboration I'm having with Sherry Davis. Right now, I can see myself working with her because she's very serious about her preparation as an actor. And she has like a unique face where I can see her doing numerous things, because I'm a person like, oh man, I think you'd be great in a period piece, or I think you'll be great in something like this, because I want to do a period piece. I want to do a Civil War biopic at one point. I think that would be so much fun, because Kentucky has such unique history for being a neutral battleground between the North and the South, and I think that Kentucky would be a really interesting story to tell. So yeah, I dream big, man. And I talked to Ariana Harris, who's actually playing Lily in my upcoming script, and I think I'm going to really enjoy working with her, because her preparation and her professionality of everything. It's a lot of people. I'm like, man, I would love to work with you again, but sometimes it's just so hard, because you're meeting new people, and then you're trying to make room for them, and then like people you really enjoy working with.
It's really hard because you have a big heart.
That gets me a lot too. Because if I could, I would work with everybody in the world.
There is a scene which I have to keep tabs on in my own life ever since I saw it. Oddly enough, it is from Muppets Take Manhattan.
Oh wow, that was a throwback.
And his I'm talking to him like he's a real person. I guess he is. At the very culmination of everything towards the end, he finds out. He goes, "Hey, I know what's missing. It's more frogs and dogs and pigs and this and that." And he gathers all his people, okay, and they all come in to the scene. Ever since I saw that as a kid, I thought, I want to bless and bring in as many people as possible into everything that I do. It made an odd impression on me, but it's like, I get it.
That's what I've been doing with A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, because there's so much room for featured extras and stuff like that. So I've been going back into the script and writing like little stuff to get people involved. Yeah. Because I have never had this kind of project where everybody's like, how can I be a part of it? And I'm like, and I get ideas because I get inspired. When people get excited, I get excited. And that's why like a lot of times when I'm very excited about something and somebody's not I don't appear like as excited as I am, it kind of, I don't know, like I kind of, it take a step back. Like I'm seeing when I'm talking to you, I'm seeing you are getting like excited. You're like in your hand and you're like, you're waiting for your turn to like to say what you want to say. But where it's like we're kind of being telepathic back and forth. And it's like, but it's fun though when you see a conversation and you see somebody's like waiting their turn to say something because you sparked you sparked something that they So yeah, that to me, I love that.
There's a proverb in the Bible that talks about when a spark meets a flint. Like I was a kid, I used to do a lot of things with all kinds of stuff because I was curious. But you hit the spark and it starts a fire. And certain people, it starts a fire. Not a bad one. It's a good one. If someone wanted to contact you, how would they do that? And you have a fantastic website, actually. I love it.
Thank you. That I can't take credit for that. That's all my wife. She's very tedious. She will be working hours and hours and hours, making sure everything looks really neat.
So nice.
She like. I really appreciate her because she really cares a lot. She's very particular about everything. And I mention her a lot because although, a lot of people see me, she's the person I think that kind of makes me look as neat and cool as people think that I am.
I appreciate that. I heard
she always treats me like I'm a bigger deal than I feel I am. She'd be like, honey, you're important. I'm like, so are you. No, but you're important. You're the face of the company. I'm like, you should be. Because it's both of us. She's always trying to shine the light on me and I'm trying to bring her in it.
That's a beautiful combination. You're trying to outdo each other because you love each other so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been together 15 years and there's been a lot of people who try to discourage me from my dream. She's the only person that saw through it and make things happen. And she's really my only friend I have. A lot of things. Sorry, another phone call. We both was kind of like the black sheep in our family, and we're just people of passion and our work ethics. We're just really working hard to build something, and she's the only person I've ever really been on a count on that kind of level. Because a lot of times before, I was married and divorced, and I remember the day when my oldest son was born. I remember her family stepped in the room and they were like, well, you better put that filmmaking dream and take care of your child. And it was just really odd to me. And I'm like, why can't I do both? I'm not dead. And it was just always them putting me down because I did, I was just getting started and struggling. And when you really have something you're passionate that you really want to do, and then you're doing something that is miserable, it's not living.
You've done this before. You've done miserable things to get by, correct?
Oh God, yes.
Now, what did you learn from it? I have to ask.
What I learned from it is that, us as people, it's important to do what's necessary to pay the lights and the bills. But I've also learned that life is also meaningful. We're all here for a short period of time, and a lot of people die not doing what they were here to meant to do. And a lot of times people play it safe to make things, and you see so many people are so unhappy in life because they're not doing what they were called to do. And exactly. they were discouraged out of living their dream because they felt that they had to work a 9-to-5 job versus following what is it that they really would do. I think there would be so much happier people in the world if they were doing the things that they were meant to do instead of not doing it because they didn't have that support system. And what that taught me is having the right people in your life.
Having to what?
Having the right people in your life that supports you and motivates you to do what it is that you're sought out to do, instead of, oh, you won't make it that way. You should be doing this. And people literally listen to people who have never walked a day in their shoes in their life when it is that they should be following their intuition and their gut.
You are a philosopher. You're an actor, you're a cinematographer, you're a writer, but also you're a philosopher, which makes sense because 80%, if not more, of acting in this business and behind the camera, in front of the camera, is psychology, is philosophy, because it's like, how are you doing? Fine. Okay, that's average. Okay, that's great. Or is it a scene and you really want to play it out and really expose yourself? I made up an acronym years ago and it's on my website. Always, ACT, always choose truthfully. Okay.
Mm.
And it's true. In a
Most
scene,
people
you
say they're
choose
fine when they're not fine.
everything is subtext. Everything.
It
You
is.
can tell
And I
that
can always tell
yeah.
with the eyes what somebody is telling you, because most of the time when people are fine or anything, they never look you quite in the eye.
I could talk to you for a long time.
I'm really liking this conversation, because to me,
Good.
I have to keep looking at the camera, reminding myself that this is a podcast, because
It's
I
a
feel like we're
podcast,
just having a casual conversation.
I keep going back because I want to give you credibility that's due you today. That's why I asked you about the, contact information. But you're great. I look forward to watching. Remind me again, what's it called? The film that you're working on that's like in 9 days.
A Good Girl's Guide to Murder.
Yeah. I've seen it actually on Facebook. I'm gonna share that with different people.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. I'm so glad that we're almost at 27,000. I mean, me and my wife and my casting crew, we are at it. Everybody believes we know we have something great with this script, and just the support system that we have with this movie. I never thought when we first started, I never thought we would be at 27,000.
And there's a niche. I want to tell you, there's a niche in everything. You just have to dig for it, okay, and be specific. But there's a niche for this. There is a cry for this, for people, for women specifically that have, they don't know how to talk about it. They don't know how, they want to, okay, but maybe they have naysayers.
I would say this. It seems like we specialize in assassinating character. When there is people who try to come forward, whatever it is that they're trying to tell people that's happening, we are so quick to blame the victim.
Because it's a microwave society. It's like boom, 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 boom. You have to slow down and don't think you know it all, because you don't. In fact, you know very little.
You have to. I don't know about you.
I have a hard time figuring myself out, let alone someone else.
Yeah, because we evolve, we change. There's so many things to it, and I just feel like women are more at a time where women are. Their sexual assault is not taken seriously. They either supposedly asked for it, or they shouldn't have been wearing what they were wearing. Men aren't supposed to have self-control. It's really astounding to me that women are still viewed as objects to a lot of people rather than an actual person. It's just, it's really crazy that we are in 2023 and we're still, we still got a lot of work to do.
I understand. And this film is going to help and bless many people, male and female.
I think so too, because there are male victims, and men suffer a lot of problems too within that as well. When you look at Johnny Depp, he was abused, and no one believed him at first, because a lot of men who are abused, they never come forward too, because they feel ashamed.
And you got to be that tough guy, they say.
Yeah, you got to be that tough guy, and I think a lot of people are now starting to see that with the case of Will Smith, that his marriage is not as perfect as it seems. And that's the thing, is like, we're people. It shouldn't be gender based. It shouldn't be. People, we all have our issues, and we all have our strengths and weaknesses. And my thing is that I want to make a movie where women are more comfortable of coming out, or more, coming forward about something like that. Because the thing is, with A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, is she's being sexually abused by her father. And if you see how common it is for, a relative to sexually abuse a relative member, it is very high. They say 3/4 out of the women who are raped, they know their victim.
And you can say it or not say it. Of course, it's your project, but where is this being filmed? I'm always curious about locations.
This will be filmed in Cadiz, Kentucky, right by Nashville. It's like 2 hours just north of Nashville. We'll be shooting there. We'll be doing some shooting in Louisville, Kentucky, and Glasgow, Kentucky.
Yeah. I don't know what to say except I'm going to say this. Thank you for being on Real Actors.
No, this was great. This was great.
Yeah.
I like I said, it felt just like a casual conversation, and I keep looking and seeing my face, and I had to remind myself that I'm being recorded. This was a very good conversation. I love the body language. I like seeing you excited, and it's not just a So because when I'm talking to somebody, continues to go, I lose train of thought because I'm like, can you stop doing that? So
That's why I don't like Alexa. It's like, you are so boring. So.
Right, that's why I feel like, man, am I boring to you?
That's funny. All right, sir. Thank you for, again, truly being on Real Actors, Real Answers, and we're going to talk again, okay?
Oh, yeah, this was great, man. You were amazing.
All right. God bless. Enjoy your day, sir.
You too. Bye.